Here we've got another game by another goon, T-54 match by Xerxes 17. It's ended up being a pretty monstrously high damage match. He is of course playing one of the strongest tanks in the game, the T-54. Even though it's not quite as strong as it used to be, it's still very, very good. Probably the best rounded medium there is. He's ended up on the east side of Highway. Not really the best map. Not as bad as it once was, but certainly still not good. Now, right off the bat, he's doing things very differently. To me, when I'm playing a medium, I almost never go city. I go out into the field instead. Field gives me obviously a lot more room to play around in a medium. And generally it's left open, so somebody generally needs to cover it or at least spot the TDs. In this case, the AMX-13, the Centurion, decide they're not going to push if they're going to be the only ones on the west flank, and so instead they sit back on the hillside, which ends up being a problem in itself because they can't really do anything once they get pushed. You need to either make a proper concerted push down towards the one line, or you need to actually just hold right back in base and put a light tank in the middle. You can't do what they're doing now. The majority of Xerxes' team are still on their way into the city. Getting mediums into these early positions isn't always a bad idea because you can get some early side shots on stuff as it comes into the city, but again, it's not something I would personally do. Moonin takes a big hit off the IS-8, but Xerxes is able to find himself facing tier 7s instead. The T-54 is probably one of the least pleasant medium tanks to run into if you're playing in a tier 7. Looks like the Type 59 has doubled back to try and cover the Centurion and the AMX-13 as Xerxes continues to engage these tier 7s here. But the way they're arranged on that hillside, they haven't got very good vision and they haven't got very good cover. Sure enough, Type 59 isn't lit until it's basically already under their guns. You can easily get across to the hillside and then just hide from them there. You really need somebody kicked out into the middle, either in the riverbed or in the village on the west flank, to spot people before they do that. Because if they manage to push all the way across, they're going to get under your guns. You won't be able to do anything without driving out and exposing yourself, which AMX is now doing. And guaranteed they're going to have friends sitting further back in the 2 line. Sure enough, the Cent's already been killed by a 1390 that was never lit. This is what happens when you don't have a scout pushed out from the north end of the map. Almost certainly that AMX and a couple other tanks are sitting on the 2 line there in camouflage, just sniping across whatever the AMX was spotting, or sorry, whatever the Type 59 was spotting. AMX went down as well. Now it's only the 59 who is running for dear life. Xerxes is still engaged in town. He's getting some hits in here and there. But it is quite crowded in town and 90% of these tanks are sitting around doing nothing, which is a problem. The other thing about coming to town in a medium as well, you'll see it in a moment, is this is reactive play. You're waiting for the enemy to actually do something and then reacting to it. I don't like to do that. I prefer trying to be proactive. Obviously I do get so tunnel visioned at times that I do end up playing reactively, but at the moment Xerxes doesn't appear to realise that his base is about to get capped. Or if he does, he's decided not to act on it yet. He's actually quite happy to continue engaging tanks in the town. It's obvious that his team's heavies are incompetent, but given enough time they should actually be able to deal with at least some of these. But in this case, Xerxes waits until the cap timer starts ticking down before he turns to go and lend a hand at base. By now the Type 59's retreated all the way in behind the arty. He doesn't want to get killed, and the arty has had to run south. I'm not saying it's inherently wrong to play this way, I just don't really like the idea of letting the enemy dictate what goes on. And if you're forced to always react to what they're doing, it leaves you with very little initiative to actually go out and do things that would result in a win. If you're allowing yourself to have to react to everything the enemy does, then that's all you're really going to be able to do. He's going to dictate the time and place of the engagement, and all you can do is just go there and take it. Xerxes drives in, gets a reset on the 59. Now here he's got heat loaded, which he does not at all need. I'm not sure if he just didn't realise he'd loaded it and forgot to switch back to AP or what, but don't need heat to pen a JT from anywhere. And in fact, he probably could have got some damage off that second shot there if he'd had AP loaded. Again, don't need heat to pen a Tiger 2. In fact, you can pen its upper plate with just regular AP. But now he's switched back to AP and he's in a position to finish this guy off. It's looking pretty dire at the moment. They're down to 3 tanks. The Type 59 is still full health. But so far he's just been trying to stay back and hide from the enemy, while Xerxes has been getting into the fight. T-25 isn't sure where to go, so he positions, presumably he thought he'd be watching the cap, but instead he'd positioned himself where he could easily be spotted and killed without spotting back whatever lit him. And so as Xerxes and the Type 59 head to town to finish off everything there, spot these guys, T-25 is about to get rolled up on. This AC-46 doesn't quite know where to look, but eventually decides not to go for Xerxes, which buys Xerxes the time he needs to deal with the 110. And there goes the T-25 AT by a 704 he never saw. 110 bounces off Xerxes. It looks like he's still got the D25. In fact, yes, he has. No wonder he bounced. So Xerxes is able to finish him off quite easily. Again, using heat here where he doesn't really need to. It's a trap that people tend to fall into with the T-54. I actually did myself as well quite a while ago, but I've mostly weaned myself off the heat now. Again, heat on an IS-8, you don't need it. .704's made himself known. Again, if that was AP, that would have penned and killed the IS-8. Not that it matters because the Type 59's on point with the shot. Xerxes gets a quick shot in the 704 before it turns to face him. Now he needs the Type 59 to pincer around and get its attention. Unfortunately, the Type 59 really does not want to lose hit points. This guy has been knocked down to barely any hit points at all after playing all game really conservatively, actually. So he's going to sit back, and Xerxes is going to have to go the long way around instead. .704 has taken the bait though, and is looking at the 59. So Xerxes takes a couple quick shots. Bit of a panic snapshot there, obviously didn't end well for him. That would have bounced even if it was AP. It's just an unlucky angle it hit at. Very nearly got hit by Artie there. I think that may actually have been a heat round from the Lorraine, or AP, or whatever its gold round is. Well, not gold round, whatever its armor piercing round is, because there's no way that would have been a high explosive. That would have surely splashed Xerxes for at least something if it was. 704 finishes off the Type 59. Xerxes is now up to 8k damage, 8.1k actually. But he now has to face the 704. 704 has very good camo and a very big gun. Xerxes can survive an average roll, he can even survive a slight high roll. But if the 704 gets really lucky, it's capable of one-shotting Xerxes even without an ammo rack. Not discouraged by this, he pushes on, circling around to the right to try and pop out somewhere the 704 isn't going to be pre-aimed. Obviously, in a situation like this where it's one-on-one, you need to try and confuse the enemy. Pop up somewhere, get lit deliberately, and then go somewhere well away from there before you try and attack, just to make sure they're looking the wrong way, or at least they're not going to have the reaction time to get you before you get them. So Xerxes begins circling around where he thinks the 704 is, but 704 is actually pulled quite a lot further down the hill, and it gets him for nearly all his health. 3 hit points is all Xerxes has left. Luckily for him, that actually doesn't track it, it pens and does damage. It wouldn't have mattered either way, but here's a mistake. He stops, and the immediate response is that. If that had been a gold HE shell, or even I guess a regular HE shell, because I think this Lorraine's firing heat, that would have killed Xerxes. Even from that near miss, it would have killed him. There was no need to stop there. He would have almost certainly hit and penned the 704 driving past it at full speed. There's no reason to give Artie the excuse. But he did manage to narrowly avoid dying there, and thankfully avoids it again there as the Lorraine makes a very poorly aimed snapshot. And Xerxes finishes the game with 8.8k damage and 7 kills. So a couple things he did that game I wouldn't really want to do. He certainly didn't play badly. I mean, you can't really say somebody who goes on to do that much damage and win the game played badly. But if I was to sort of compile a list of grievances with this, my first one would be reacting to the enemy instead of predicting what they're going to do and acting on it. He probably should have started looking at heading back to cap about 30 seconds to a minute before he actually did, before the enemy got on the cap. There was not really a huge need to stay in town and fight there because most of the tanks there were crippled. He could have cleaned them up later, whereas getting the guys out of cap would have bought him a bit more time. Obviously they had time to get in there and clear the cap out anyway, but I don't like to leave things like that to chance. The other thing is just the heat. Heat is brilliant if you're firing at really thick, flat armor that's at an almost perpendicular angle. It's absolutely worthless if you hit something in the track, or if you hit a really highly angled piece of armor, or spaced armor. And there were at least 2 or 3 shots there which would have penned if they'd been regular AP and not heat. Other than that, the shell velocity is lower, so your shots are going to take a little longer to get onto target, which usually isn't a problem, but it can make moving shots difficult, especially for somebody with as high ping as either myself or Xerxes. It can also very rarely result in the situation where you and an enemy tank are facing off and you fire first, but he actually gets a shot off before you hit him. So you may both be one shot, and you may have counted on your shell getting there first, but actually it doesn't. Again, though, that's very rare and tends to only happen at the very sort of extremes of of shooting distance. Other than that, of course, firing all heat from the 54 runs up a very large ammo bill very quickly, which is not really a good idea. But again, it's a well-played match, very good result from it, and I can tell Xerxes was happy about it because he's been asking me to watch this replay for the last week or so now. So I finally got around to it today and decided to record it and upload it. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. I've got a couple more replays from other goons I want to show, and then I will be able to get back into my own replays. Good luck on the field. See you next time.